namaste and welcome. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for tuning in. It's great to see you. Sticking with what some of us talked about last Tuesday at this time, I feel like February is a really great opportunity for us to reset and soften into everything that's going on for us and set our bodies on a path that will, by spring, help us feel really good. So bring your hands up into the center of your heart and allow yourself to breathe a little deeper into your belly. Make some room between your upper and lower molars. And let the tip of your tongue rest right behind your upper teeth. So you can feel some of your hard palate. But then let the root of your tongue drop away from your soft palate. So it's an easy connection. And then breathe all the way in. Your hands start to drop away. Breathe a full breath into your body. And then you can open your mouth and let your exhale come out through your mouth. And then you can start to uncross your legs and begin to make your way down onto your back. Morning, Erica. And when you get down to your back, stretch out your legs and open your arms out to a T. Lay your palms open just so there's some space from your breastbone out across your chest. Let your limbs sink. And then it's just your head, right? So roll your head to the right. Roll your head to the left. And that's the only movement, so that you allow yourself to mobilize your neck. And try to do it with your eyes open. So there's a distinct awareness. So you see whatever is beyond your hand. You see the ceiling. And try not to gloss over those places. So definitely see the ceiling, see your hand. The things in between, they might get a little blurry. Allow yourself to move this way. So you not only wake up your neck, but you wake up your vestibular system by changing the position of your head and changing the position of your eyes. And allow yourself to feel like your eyes are leading the movement. So you feel your eyes change from one corner to the other, taking your head along with it. I was going to say we could probably do this for an hour, but you get really tired of it after about 10 minutes. So we'll do it for just a little bit longer. But this is one that if you've got the space when you wake up in the morning to spread your arms out, you can bed before you get out of bed. And you can road test it. You can do it one morning and see what it's like when you initially put your feet on the floor. And then the next morning when you wake up, skip it and put your feet immediately on the floor. And just see what your sense of embodiment is like, what your sense of balance is like in that first standing up in the morning. I think you'll notice a difference. Last couple times. And then pause in the middle. Give yourself a sec to sink, especially if things feel like they're moving around in your field of vision. One last breath. Good. And then bend your knees. Scoot your hips toward the left side, roll to your right side, and flip over onto your belly. And when you get to your belly, set up like a sphinx, so you're on your elbows. And your palms can be down if that feels natural. You can be on the pinky edges of your hands. No need to worry about what your hands are doing. But do press into the ground so that you don't sink in your shoulders. You don't want your shoulders to come up by your ears, but allow yourself to press the ground away. So you feel this openness, this extension through your spine. And then imagine that you're going to military crawl on your elbows, but don't go anywhere. So you shift left and you shift right. You shift left and you shift right. Sometimes having your toes curled under gives you a better connection to the ground. And it's a swivel through your shoulders. So you can check out pointed toes or curled toes, but then swiveling side. And you can play, Patricia, with where you put your elbows. So sometimes moving them forward might feel a little bit better in your low back. Sometimes bringing them in a little bit closer. Then you might have to find the sweet spot, but you're on your elbows the whole time. And you imagine yourself doing this military crawl. So you begin to wake up your shoulder joint. And as a result, you get a little bit of tiny bit of movement in your low spine. And when you're swiveling in one direction, just look past your shoulder a little bit. So you're not craning and looking behind you, but you can see the floor just to the outside of your elbow. Like you're trying to get a better look at something that's on the floor next to your elbow. Notice when you want to scrunch in your shoulders. So when you're moving, one shoulder will feel like it gets closer to your ear, but all the while you have this sense of staying propped up. So it's a switch and a switch. So the moment you're moving in one direction, your eyes switch to outside the elbow. A little bit more. Last couple to each side. Good. And then center yourself out. Double your hands on top of each other. Widen out your elbows and just bring your forehead down to rest on your hands. Take your breath into your belly and feel what it's like to breathe against the floor. So notice if you've lost the connection that you made between the tip of your tongue and the hard palate behind your upper teeth. Reconnect that if it got lost. And slow down your inhale. Doesn't mean you're trying to make it any bigger, but by breathing your belly against the floor, having this connection with your tongue, breathing slowly. Your diaphragm has to work a little bit more than it would perhaps naturally, because there's some resistance there. And if you try to make your breath too big in that moment, that resistance could make you feel anxious. If you just breathe comfortably and naturally, that resistance has a strong and profound effect on your nervous system. Adding a level of calm to your breath. And last couple of breaths there. And then take your hands away and reposition your hands so they're next to your chest, next to your shoulders, your elbows popping up to the ceiling. And then lift your gaze, look over your left shoulder. And drop your gaze and bring your head down. Lift your gaze and look over your right shoulder. And then bring it back down. Lift your gaze, look over your left shoulder, and start to roll to your right. Touch your left big toe to the floor behind you. And then bring that back down. Gaze and the rest of your body. Lift your gaze, look to the right, roll to the left, toe tap your right toes behind you. And then bring it back down. Lift, look left, roll right, and come up a little bit higher so you can drop the sole of your left foot flat, and you come up to sit. And then you roll back down onto your belly, reversing the roll. Lift your gaze, look to the right, roll to your left, until you come all the way up to sit. And then you roll it back down. And then that's the movement. So you look left, so you can roll right, sitting up. Look down and roll down. Lift your head, look right, roll to your left, have a seat on your bum. And then back down. And then keep that going so that you look, lift, and roll. That's it. And then you look and roll down again. You lift and you look to the right, you roll, and you look and roll down. You lift, you look, and you roll, and once you're up sitting, you can raise your left arm into the sky, like a big stretch, and then you roll that back down. Lift, look right, roll left. Add your right arm into the sky. And then back down. Lift, look left, roll to your right. Raise your arm if you want. You can lift your hips. And then you lower your hips, look down, roll down. Lift your head, look right, roll to your left. You can add your right arm into the sky, and then lift your hips. And then you can come down. But you leave out what you need, right? So maybe it's just the arm. Maybe there's no arm. Maybe you feel the whole movement connected, so that as your arm is going, if your arm is going, that you're already moving with it. You decide what's right and what's enough. A couple more times, roll it. One more in each direction. Last leg. And then on to your belly. Rest for a moment, so hands underneath your head. Breathe your belly against the floor. One more time. Curl your toes under on the floor. Position your hands next to your chest. And then take a little lift off the ground for a cobra. And then bring it back down as you exhale. A little lift for cobra. And then back down. Add to that as you lift for cobra. Press into your hands. Move through all fours. And move your chin toward your chest as your hips go back towards your knees. Keep your chin against your chest as you shift your way forward. Bend your elbows, drop your pelvis. You're in cobra. Your head goes down to the ground. And then you lift for cobra to press into your hand, waving your spine away from the mat, pressing back. Chin to your chest. Long through your arms. See between your knees. Keep your chin against your chest. Roll forward. Moving as your elbows bend, landing in cobra, head to the ground. Cobra up, wave through your spine. Press and lengthen your elbows, hips back to wherever they go for you, not forcing a bend into your feet. Chin to your chest as you roll forward. Pelvis down, elbows bending. Open your gaze, lower down. Peeling up cobra. Maybe that's all. You can always go right back down or come back. Chin to your chest. And then ripple forward. So your elbows stay long until your hips start to fall. Your gaze goes forward. Now your elbows bend. And you wave down into the mat. Peel up your cobra. Press it back. Chin to your chest, long through your reach. Keep your chin against your chest. Keep your arms long. Move your hips down. Gaze forward. Now bend your elbows. Lower everything to the mat. A few more times. Cobra up. Move back. Chin in. Ripple through. Bend your elbows. Last two of those. Start with cobra. Back you go. Keep in your chin. Ripple. One more time. Peel up your cobra. Lengthen your elbows. Move your hips back. Chin to your chest. Ripple through. Your hips start to fall. Then your gaze goes forward. Bend your elbows. Land cobra. Release your toes. Stack your hands. Rest your head. Move side to side a little bit on your forehead, rolling it across your hands. And one more breath here. Right. And then hands by your chest. Press yourself to all fours briefly. And then find your way up to stand. And then you need a little piece of wall to put your palm on the wall, right? So set yourself up so that you can have a palm on the wall and stand that arm's distance away from the wall. Put your right hand on the wall first just so the language makes sense. And then once you're there, so you've got your palm, you can stand with your feet touching it first. And then step your right foot forward right in front of your left toe. So almost like you're standing on a balance beam. And then continue to cross your right leg over some. So your right foot has gone just a little bit to the left. And you already have this sense of reaching over to the wall. Reach up with your left arm. And then once it's up, lean toward the wall so that you move your hips away from the wall. And maybe your left middle finger touches the wall. And then you bring that back up. Open up wide for a T. You can press into your right middle finger, so it's just the middle finger touching. Flatten your palm to the wall. Lean over to your right. Move your hips out, and then send your fingers toward the wall. Whether or not they touch is not important. And then you come back up. And then you reach up and over. So your hips move away from the wall as your fingers go toward the wall. And then you come back up. And you do that a few more times, reaching up and over. And noticing where your chest is, and if you're turning your gaze or your chest toward the floor. Try to keep your chest facing forward. You can gaze past your left arm as you touch. Good, one more time, reach up and over with your left arm. Move your hips away from the wall. And then bring that back up. Line up your 2 feet. Just move a tiny bit further away from the wall, so just your right middle finger. So now you've got your feet together, middle finger of your right hand against the wall. And then reach over here, just changing it a bit as you reach and reach and reach, and it's going to be more difficult through your hip. So don't try to force your left fingers to the wall, but press the wall away and open up through your left waist. Good, reach up and then stand tall. And then your left hand is going to palm the wall. Step your left foot right in front of your right foot. And then cross over. So it's forward and across a little bit. So even there, that's a great place just to hang out. Just reaching and pressing. Or you can send your right arm up and over as you side bend toward the wall. And maybe your fingers touch. And then you come back, a big wide T. Then you reach up and over. Not locking your knees ever, but also not moving into any sort of bend in your knees. If there's a desire to bend your knee along the way, don't go as deep into the side bend. And then you can start to play with where your gaze is, taking it toward your upper hand, upper arm. A few more times like that. Take it up and over one more time with this setup. Move your hips away from the wall as you reach. Good. And then as you come back up, line up your 2 feet. And then just move a little bit further away from the wall. So just your middle finger makes contact. So as you then begin to press your left palm flat, reach up and over with your right arm, send your hips away from the wall, and reach in the direction of the wall without forcing your hand to get there. Good. And then bring it back up. And then start to come back to your mat and find your bolster or something bolstery. Lay that down across your mat. And then position yourself so that your right hip is next to the long edge. And then lay yourself down across your bolster. So think about the side bend that you were just doing. And your right arm can definitely reach long on the mat if your shoulder is okay with that. Or you might need to take your arm across your mat so that your shoulder can drop a little bit. Honor what your shoulder is telling you. And then you can rest your head on your right arm. Start with your left hand on your left ribs, just to give yourself a sense of turning open. You can have a soft bend in both knees. And you want to feel as though you are draping over the bolster without a lot of weight on your hip, on the ground, or on your shoulder. And you can stay like this, or your left arm can start to reach so that both arms are alongside your head. And you can use your right hand just to hold on to your left wrist if that gives you a sense of evening things out. You can let your hands lay some other way without getting caught up in that. If reaching your arm alongside your head brings tension anywhere else in your body, then come back to your left hand on your ribs or your left hand on the bolster. Reaching alongside. And just like when you were standing, notice when you want to roll toward the bolster with your chest and belly. See if you can really stay on your side body. Really side bending, but laying over it. Along the way, your legs might get a little bit longer. There's always some soft bend. Sometimes, Veronica, instead of taking your arm up toward the ceiling on the way there, let your hands start on your belly, go down toward your bolster, down toward the floor, and then toward your hands. So you really stay close to the ground, and see if that gives you a different range of motion. Just a few more moments here. Last couple of breaths. Have your left hand over at your right hand, slide it down your arm toward the bolster so your hand can come to the bolster. Bend both knees. And once your knees come in close to the bolster, press your left hand, roll in the direction of your hand, and sit yourself up. Pause once you're up. And then change it up so that your left hip will now be the hip that's next to the long edge. And once you get next to it, just a tiny hike, especially if you've got a full bolster, you can lift up and drape over. And then you check with your left arm, you see what it wants, right? So it can go across. Sometimes that's better. It does mean that your head might drop more if your arm is bisecting the mat. So you could slide your block underneath your skull for a moment. That works better for you. Or you might just be there for a moment and work yourself into a long arm over time. And keep your right hand on your right ribs or on the bolster, opening up through your waist. And when and if the time is right, your right arm can reach that arms by both ears. Either holding on to your right wrist or just letting your right palm rest on your left palm. But if it ever feels like struggle, back off for a moment. Let your right hand, Patricia, come down to your right hip for a sec. And then roll your right shoulder back. That's it, Patricia. And then sweep your arm alongside your head and see if you can come back and keep that openness that you just set up. Yeah? If you ever get tingles or a numbness in your hand, then it's definitely a sign to bring your upper arm back down to your hip or ribs. When you take your breath, imagine it filling up into your right ribs a little bit more than your left ribs. Just a few more moments here. Last couple of breaths. Good. And then you can slide your right hand down, move it toward the bolster, bend both knees and more, roll toward your belly, roll toward your right hand, and then ease yourself up. Take a moment there. Give yourself a whole breath in and out. Good. And then you're going to move your bolster close to a wall surface. Right? You need the wall just for your hands. And your bolster is going to lay down in front of the wall, and the distance is roughly the length of your own foot. So if you measure off 1 foot toe to heel, that's about where you want the bolster to be, so that you can stand at the back of it with your hands against the wall. Widen out your feet a little bit, and then bring your left knee right down to the back edge of the bolster, so right at the very back. Step your right foot forward so it's close to the wall, and then begin to bend your right knee. You don't want it to bump up against the wall, so if it does, you can move back a little bit, sinking your left leg down and having both hands up on the wall. So you start to open up through the front of your left hip, allowing yourself to keep curled toes on your left foot. Being here And then drop your right elbow onto your right thigh. And you can lay your left forearm kind of at a diagonal on the wall and let your head come to rest on your hand there. So letting your shoulder just relax for a moment. When you breathe in and you expand into your waist, expand all the way down into your left hip. You can keep it this way, or stretch your right arm up the wall. So you can still rest your head on your left hand, reach up with your right arm. Then you've got opening in your hip, opening in your right shoulder. You can keep it this way or upstretch your left arm and then let your forehead rest to the wall. If you immediately feel anything pinchy or strained in your shoulder, then definitely bring your hands lower. They can have more of a goalpost shape, or you can stack your two hands underneath your forehead. Just a couple more breaths here. Your right knee might be making contact with the wall now, but as long as it's not feeling like there's a sharp pressure there. Bring your right hand down to your right elbow and come onto your right thigh. Lift your head off the wall. Drop your left hand over to the edge of the bolster. Move your body in that direction so both hands are over toward that left corner. Press down into the floor to lift your hips. Step your right foot back so it's behind the bolster. Pause and walk your hands back and have a little forward bend over your legs. Evening out. And then right from there, you can walk your hands forward and drop your right knee down, right at the very back seam of the bolster. Step your left foot forward. Bring your hands up onto the wall. Bend your left knee, and by doing so, instead of being straight down on your right knee, you start to move more into your right thigh, taking the weight, rather than your right knee taking the weight. Letting your head flow to top your spine. Breathing here. Try to keep your gaze lifted. And then your left arm can drop onto your left thigh. Your right arm can come at a diagonal so that you can place your hand between your head and the wall. Especially if you've got cold plaster walls that are facing the outside world. Sinking in without pushing down, right? So natural body weight. You can stay this way, or your left hand can reach up the wall. You might notice that as your hand went up, you got a deeper depth in your hip. You can stay this way or slide your right hand up and let your forehead come to rest on the warm spot where your hand was. drop your left elbow to your thigh. Press against your thigh to bring your right hand down over to the right side of the bolster. Both hands over there. So you can press your hands, move back, shift your left foot, stretch your two legs, and have a little forward bend as you walk your hands backward, pouring over. Breathing out. Good, and then you can leave your bolster right where it is and just slide it against the wall. Slowly make your way onto your mat. Lie down on your back and have your block handy. Your knees are bent, soles of your feet flat. So that you can lift your hips and place the block underneath your pelvis. So flat, middle, those are two places to start. You don't want to be too high right away. So you can find the place where your sacrum is really flat against the block. And then you can spread your shoulder blades and let more of your upper back make contact with the ground. From there, you can start to stretch your legs a little bit longer. Move and maneuver so there's no tension as your legs get heavy. Now the whole front plane of your pelvis can open, so you feel like from your pubis out to your crest, there's a sense of broadening. Your toes will naturally turn open a little bit, but no forcing. Take a full breath into your belly. You might notice that your pubic bone drops in the direction of your tail a little bit when you do that. And as long as you're really propped on your sacrum and the block's not against your low back, that shouldn't feel like it puts any undue pressure on things. If it's putting pressure on things, readjust your blocks. It really supports your whole pelvis. So your butt flesh kind of hangs off on one side. You can keep your hands near your hips. You can open your arms toward the T. Body open up some more. At this time of year, when we walk around in a lot of gear, we tend to close up the front, and we tend to do that penguin waddle. And when you waddle around like a penguin, a lot of tension and tightness right around your inner hip flexors. And that translates into a lot of tightness in your back, a lot of tightness in your chest. So opening those places up. So that when you move about, you might still have to walk a little bit like a penguin, but to do so in a more upright, alert posture. Notice where your tongue is in reference to your hard palate. If you have a really sturdy block, but Sue, don't do this with a brick, okay? stay where you are. Don't change anything with yours, okay? If you've got a sturdy block and you want, you can bend your knees, walk your feet in, curl your tailbone into your body so your glutes fire, and then you might lift up to the higher point on the block. But make sure that you do all of that little work, so the curl and firing. And then once you're up high, you could stretch your legs out long again. So it gives you more of a back bend quality. If that immediately changes things in a way that does not feel like your body wants it, then go back to where you are. It's a little shadowy, Patricia, but it feels good. Thumbs up, yes? Okay. Because I can't tell exactly where your block is, but. Last 3 breaths here. Then one leg comes in slowly, so try to drag your foot back. And then the other leg. And remember, there's a curling forward of your tail. Engage both glutes. And then lift off the block. Lower down slowly. Land in your block and set off to the side. And then a little bit of pelvic tilting on the floor so that when you're here, drop your low back into the ground so you scoop out your belly and you curl your tail towards your pubis. And then you reverse that. So you allow your belly to lengthen and expand. And then you press your back down and you drop it. But at no point do your hips come off the floor. Mobilizing your SI. Last 2 times like that. Go one more time. Great. And then roll to your side. And then you're going to finish at the wall with your legs up the wall. So if you have a sandbag is great. You could use a bolster on your feet. You could also use your bolster underneath your hips. You can kind of design it in the way that makes the most sense for you. I'm going to use a sandbag on my feet to add some weight. When you're starting off, you want to get close to the wall first. So your hips go to the wall, you kind of lower onto your side so that your bum, your butt flesh goes to the wall, and then your legs go up the wall. So if there's nothing under your hips, then you really feel like your butt is touching the wall. And then if you're using a sandbag there, you can bend your knees, put the sandbag between your soles and the wall, and then you slide that up. And you can do that with anything. You can do that with your block. You can do that with your bolster. Just maneuvering things so that they're easy. So your legs are vertical, Viparita Karani. It helps keep your legs from rolling out dramatically. give some weight so your legs drop into the sockets a little bit more. And then once you're there, you can open your arms like a T. You can rest your hands on your belly. Allow yourself to breathe naturally but deeply. Samba Sada Shiva, Samba Sada Shiva, Samba Sada Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Samba Sada Shiva, Samba Sada Shiva, Samba Sada Shiva. Hare Shambho, Hare Shambho, Shiva, Hare Shambho, Shiva, Shiva, Hare Shambho, Hare Shambho, Shiva, Hare Shambho, Shiva, Shiva. Hey Girijārava, Hey Girijārava, Hey Girijārava, Hara Shambho. Hey Girijārava, Hey Girijārava, Hey Girijārava, Hara Shambho. Hey Shiva Shankara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hara Hara Hey, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hara Hara Hey, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shambho. Hey Shiva Shankara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shambho. Shiva Shambho, Hare Shambho, Shiva, Hare Shambho, Shiva, Shiva, Shiva Shambho, Sada Shiva, Samba Sada Shiva, Samba Sada Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Samba Sada Shiva, Samba Sada Shiva, Samba Sada Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Samba Sada Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Start to breathe deeply here. Start to move around. Bend your knees and roll to your side. Bring your hands to your heart once you're up sitting. We are one life, we are one light, and we are one love. It's with gratitude that I bow, honoring the divine in each of you. Peace be with you and blessings upon you. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for tuning in.